In continuing our unit on knowledge in an electronic culture, we now turn to Google. As we probably all know, Google is a search engine that lets you find whatever you want by typing in keywords. However, there are economic system reasons that determine the type of results you get when you search. If you've ever noticed this, if you look at the entire Google web page when it comes up after you've searched, it's heavily geared towards shopping links. When you think about why this is, it's because on Google you can pay to have your link put in a certain prominent spot. You can pay to have your spot on Google every time people search for a certain set of keywords. Think about this in terms of Google as a research tool. What are the implications? Is it likely that the first sites that come up on Google are going to be ones that are unbiased, that can allow you to do good research? Or does the economic system cause a problem with that? To illustrate this, let's compare Google with Wikipedia. Google and Wikipedia are very different. Think about the idea of point of view with Google and Wikipedia. With Wikipedia, the point of view is almost a communist one, where everyone can contribute and everyone tries to give the message the best possible knowledge it can have for each thing entered in Wikipedia. So everyone is working together for the common good, and no one's expertise or ideas are privileged over other people's in terms of the editing engine. However, Google is a capitalist enterprise, and you think about the spots that you can purchase on Google. As much money as you have determines where you can get your sponsored link on the Google page. So when we think about the hardware and software of Google, the feature of Google determines the links that show up first when you do a search by sponsored links. And so if we look at a sample Google web page here, we can see a few things that I've illustrated. First, you can see the topmost arrow pointing at 2.15 million articles on how to brew beer. So that tells us that there are many, many sites that refer to this. So let's look at some other things on the page. Directly below that statistic is an arrow pointing to a sponsored link. And the sponsored link is set off in a mild pink. And it has a beer kit, a great gift from MrBeer.com. It's America's most popular brewing kit, and it's trying to sell that to you. If you look in the right-hand column, they are all sponsored links, all different things that are going to try to get you to purchase brewmaking kits or brewmaking supplies. If you look on the left side of the screen, the top one, How to Brew by John Palmer, when I began learning how to brew my own beer several years ago, is a narrative, and it comes up first after the sponsored links. And then we see two links below that is the Wikipedia entry on brewing beer. So how do we figure out what order these things are put in? We've got sponsored links that have their certain spots, but then we've got a narrative seemingly by one person, and then we've got the Wikipedia site, and as you look further down, they don't seem to be organized in any certain order. Well, what Google uses is a page hit system, and it's called PageRank. Basically what it does is it interprets the links between different websites on the internet and analyzes them and looks at the volume of votes that a page receives and analyzes the page that cast the votes. So voters cast by pages that are themselves important weigh more heavily and help to make other pages more important. So while this complex system seems to have a merit in terms of the best information coming to the top because it's the most seen, there is the ability to do Google bombing. And one Google bombing campaign that was carried out led to this. When you typed miserable failure into Google, the first thing that came up was the biography of President George W. Bush. So a group of hackers found out how the PageRank system worked approximately and then created a network of web pages in order to make that come up as the top search result. Obviously, point of view comes into play here in Google. So the Google Library is something that is being designed in order to try to get all of the books in print online for everybody to look at. So thinking about the impact of delivery system on knowledge due to Google, according to the Google Library, lets us think about making books easily available so they'll be used more often. So the trend right now is that books aren't used very often, or at least not as often as they were in the past because they are inconvenient. The Google Library Initiative is one that is designed to get those books online so people can have access to them. Now if you think about the difference between periodicals and books in terms of information, periodicals are usually less in depth and less breadth than books do, and they're more up to date. So there are positives and negatives of both, but excluding any one category of sources can be problematic. So the Google Library Initiative is attempting to bring all types of sources to be available. Now, when we think about the types of articles that show up, the New York Times is one that does not show up often in Google results. And this is because if you don't give your articles out for free, you don't get on Google. The New York Times charges for its archive results. So think about the implications for this in the media system. Is the New York Times a source that can be trusted? They've won 95 Pulitzer Prizes for outstanding journalism, far more than any other paper. However, their information is very rarely available on Google. So what does this say about knowledge in an electronic culture? Another aspect of Google that is expanding knowledge is prompting security fears. And this is the Google Earth tool. Google Earth allows you to see satellite photos of different places on Earth. Now currently, these satellite photos are not up to the minute. They're updated periodically, so you can't be spying on somebody. But thinking about forthcoming similar technologies, you could see your house in real time or see other things in real time. So you can look and see the detail that Google Earth provides you all the way down to the level of where you can identify cars parked in the driveway of a house. And the video clip that you watched, Bad Day on Google Earth, showed being able to zoom in on different disasters and see different things that happened. Now think about this if and when the satellite technology becomes real time. What are some possible political system implications about the uses? When we think about that, think about how would this affect the war in Iraq? If we were able to look at any point in there and look at troop movements and look at where people were hiding. So that brings us to the question that you will be answering. Should Google Earth be censored? Why or why not? As you're answering this, think about what are the privacy implications? If you're in public, should what you do be in private or should it be fair game? One more thing to discuss is Google, the government, and porn. And the story you read, was it a story about child pornography? Actually, it was not. It was a story more about the rights of corporations versus the rights of the government. And so we see an interaction of media and political systems where the government demands Google turn over search records and Google refuses, saying that they don't have to do that. It's not a freedom of information thing that the government can demand. Now think about this. A number of cell phone companies a couple of years ago turned over phone records to the U.S. government when they were requested. They did not tell their consumers about that. AT&T, Verizon, and Bell South were among those. So another question that you'll be pondering is, should companies do this willingly when the government asks, or should they do what Google has done and require a legal decision? So think about, as we finish here, the implications of Google on knowledge in an electronic culture.